Welcome back to Bible Talk with Chris. I want to talk to you today about a song that is found in the Old Testament in the book of Deuteronomy. And this is a really interesting piece. It's extremely long. It's a song that God wanted Moses to basically give to the people to remind them that after Moses' death, Israel was going to sin. So it was a prophetic piece that was explaining in detail what the Israelite people would do after Moses died. But it also is a long piece about the history of the blessings that God had given Israel and how he had delivered them. God warns Moses that after his death, Israel would sin, causing Yahweh to become angry and abandon Israel, allowing troubles to rain down upon their heads. The Israelites will then realize that their God has abandoned them, but Yahweh will maintain his distance. At this point, Yahweh surprisingly instructs Moses to teach the Israelites this poem before his death, which he writes down, and then he teaches it to them. So I want to read this to you. This is Deuteronomy chapter 32, and it goes for many, many verses, so I'll move through this quickly. Hear, heavens, and I will speak. Listen, earth, to the words of my mouth. May my instructions descend like dew, and may my words flow like dew. As light rain upon the grass, and as showers upon new plants, for I'll proclaim the name of our Lord. Ascribe greatness to our God. Flawless is the work of the rock, because all his ways are just. A faithful God, never unjust. Righteous and upright is he. But those who are not his children acted corruptly against him. They are a defective and perverted generation. This is not the way to repay the Lord, is it, you foolish and witless people? Is he not your father who bought you, formed you, and established you? Remember the days of old. Reflect on the years of previous generations. Ask your father, and he'll tell you. Your elders will inform you. When the Most High gave nations as their inheritance, when he separated the human race, he set boundaries for the people according to the number of the children of God. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is his allotted portion. The Lord found him in a desert land, in a barren, eerie wilderness. He surrounded, cared for, and guarded him as the pupil of his eye. Like an eagle stirs its nest, hovering near its young, spreading out his wings to take him and carry him on his pinions. The Lord alone guided him. There was no foreign god with him. He mounted him on a high place above the earth, feeding him from the produce of the field. He nourished him with honey from the rock and with oil from the flint rock, with curds from cattle and with milk from sheep, with the fat of lambs, with rams from Bashan, with the fat of goats, with the finest of wheat, and from the juice of grapes you drank wine. Jacob dined until satisfied. Jeshurun grew fat and kicked. He grew fat, coarse, and gross, so that he abandoned the God who made him and spurned the rock that was his salvation. They provoked him to jealousy over foreigners and to anger over detestable things. They sacrificed to demons, not to the real God, gods whom they didn't know. New neighbors who had recently appeared, whom your ancestors never feared. You neglected the rock that fathered you. You abandoned God, who was awaiting your birth. The Lord saw it and became jealous, provoked by his sons and daughters. So he said, let me hide my face from them. I will observe what their end will be, because they are a perverted generation, children within whom there is no loyalty. They provoked me to jealousy over non-gods, and to be angry over their vanity. Now I'll provoke them to jealousy over a non-people, and over a foolish nation I'll provoke them to anger. For a fire breaks out in my anger, burning to the deepest part of the afterlife, consuming the earth and its produce, and igniting the fountains of the mountains. and igniting the foundations of the mountains. I'll bury them in misfortunes, and I'll bring them to an end with my arrows. Emaciated from famine, feverish from plague, and destroyed by bitterness, I'll send fanged beast against them, along with poisonous snakes that glide through the dust. Outside, the sword will cause bereavement. Within, there will be terror for the young man and virgin alike, also for the nursing infant and the aged man. I said, I will scatter them, erasing their memory from the human race. If it weren't for dreading the taunting of their enemies, otherwise their adversary might misinterpret that and say, our power is great. It isn't the Lord who made all of this happen. They are a nation devoid of purpose and without insight. Oh, that they were wise to understand this and consider their future. How can one person chase 1,000 of them and 2 put a myriad to flight, unless their rock delivers them and the Lord gives them up? For their rock isn't like our rock, even as our enemies admit. Instead, their vine is from the vines of Sodom and the vineyards of Gomorrah. Their grapes are poisonous, their clusters bitter. Their wine is the venom of spirits. Their wine is the venom of serpents, a poisonous cobra. Is this not kept in reserve, sealed up with me in my treasury? To me belong vengeance and recompense. In due time their feet will slip, because their time of calamity is near, and the things prepared for them draw near. For the Lord will vindicate his people and bring comfort to his servants, because he will observe that their power has waned, when neither prisoner nor free person remained. He will say, where are their gods, the rock in which they took refuge? Who ate the fat of their offerings and drank the wine that was their drink offering? Let them rise and help you and be your hiding place. Look now, I am, and there is no other God beside me. There is no other God besides me. I myself cause death, and I sustain life. I wound severely, and I also heal. From my power no one can deliver. A solemn swear to heaven. I solemnly swear to heaven, I say, as certainly as I am alive and living forever, I'll whet my shining sword with my hands in firm grasp of judgment. I'll show vengeance on my adversary and repay those who keep on hating me. I'll make my arrows drunk with blood. My sword will devour flesh, along with the blood of the slain, and I'll take their enemy leaders captive. Sing for joy, nations. Sing for joy, people who belong to him, for he'll avenge the blood of his servants, turn on his adversary, and cleanse both his land and his people. So he recited all these words as the people were assembled. One thing I thought was really interesting about this, just as he begins this, at the very beginning, as he is starting this out, first of all, he basically tells them that he wants the heavens to hear this. Hear, heavens, and I will speak. Listen, earth, to the words of my mouth. May my instructions descend like rain, and may my words flow like dew and light rain upon the grass and as showers upon new plants. So, after reading all of this, it seems more like a curse and a judgment in much of it because of how they had forgotten him and would continue to forget them in the future. But he begins by saying that it was a blessing, as though it was dew. It was like rain. It was a blessing to them, and that it would fall down softly upon them, like a light rain. And it was also as if he was speaking to people who may listen to it. There may be people in that congregation, in that assembly, that would hear it, and it would be blessing to them, that it would be like rain to them, that it would help them grow and understand and learn more about who God is. And then he goes on to explain who he is. Flawless is the work of the rock, because all his ways are just. He's a faithful God, never unjust. Righteous and upright is he. But those who are not his children acted corruptly against him. They are a defective and perverted generation. This is not the way to repay the Lord, is it? you foolish and witless people. So he explains to them how he's he's their father. And he continues, and he talks about the work that he had done with them and how he delivered them and how he delivered them in the past and how he blessed them and fed them and gave them good things where there wasn't good things. And then he explained to them and reminded them how they disobeyed him and they forgot about him and they turned to other gods. And then he responded by saying he became jealous and that he was ashamed to even associate with them. They provoked him to jealousy. And that he got angry. And that he sent plagues and famines and made life very, very difficult for them and scattered them. And then he continues with a warning to Israel. It's as if he's constantly giving us an indication of how wonderful he is and how powerful he is. And he reminds us of the things that we do that show that we don't trust him, we don't care for him, and that we don't remember what he's done for us. But he is so good to us, and he's full of mercy. And he continues to give us a chance. And he reminds us that no matter what you do to look to other things, other idols, things that you think will make you satisfied and things that will seemingly rescue you from your pain or your boredom or your inability to find purpose, all of those things don't make any difference. It's only when we look to him and realize that there is no God besides him, that he is the source of life and he is the one who can bring your death to you. He's the only one that can deliver you. He's powerful. He's powerful to defeat your enemies. And he's also powerful enough to rescue you when you need rescue. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you remember that God is on the throne. And when we look to him and seek him, prayer changes things.